Hi. I assume that most of you who watch my videos are empaths, intuitives, or highly sensitive people. If you don't think that you are, you probably still are, but maybe the way that this expresses in you is a little different than how it expresses in me or someone else, which is good in a way. We're all individuals and we have different ways of expressing our intuitive, psychic, energetic sensitivity. You know, life is not, as we all know, life is not easy for those of us who are energy sensitive. And a big part of the reason it's not easy is because, culture, society definitely has its positive times and positive energy, but it also has times and energy that is negative. And a lot of the times that's the energy that most affects us, is the negative energy of others or of situations, experiences, groups of people. Going into 2025, I know we're in January, um, there's this kind of dark cloud looming, it feels, for many people, especially those who are sensitive. It's easy to feel this kind of heaviness in the air and a sense of doom almost of what is going to transpire this year. It's definitely a year of very big transformation and change. And I want you to know it doesn't have to be that way, that this is actually a year that I'd like to think of as the coming of the light. It's a year of clearing, and that's part of the reason that there is such a focus on this destructive dark energy that seems to have taken hold of us politically and in just climate changes and everything coming, this storm brewing, and not just brewing, but we certainly feel the effects of it already. However, this can be and is meant to be a time where we can recognize the light and we can clear our path to that light and experience more of that life-giving, pure, creative power that always manifests in our highest good. That is the power of the universe and the beyond. It is love. It's that force of love. It's harmony. It's peace. It's abundance. And no one's in charge of that. There's no political party that's in charge of that. We have to remember that because too often we give away our power and we allow ourselves to go along out of fear. And the more in our consciousness that we firmly understand that the power of the good belongs and is generated by a higher force, a much higher force, and it's always present. And we can align ourselves with that and find that when we do that, despite what's happening in the outer world, we can thrive. And I want to just talk for a moment a little bit politically because that's kind of the white elephant in the room. And, um, you know, I haven't really tuned in too much to intuitively tuned in too much politically. There's lots of reasons why. My goal is to actually help people through building up our consciousness into that higher realm and to support people in their ascension really into the light in that consciousness that definitely transforms and recreates the reality that we're living. However, I do want to touch on politically for a moment and say that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. a lot, and I'm sure y'all know that. Uh, when we, with Trump as president, soon to be in a few days, fully, he's not healthy, and mentally we know that. Physically, I think none of that's a surprise, but we know it. But the people that are surrounding him know it too. They know it probably better than we do. They witness that on a daily basis. And there's no accident that he has so much support with his lack of mental, emotional, physical functioning. Part of what's happening, and we're going to see this more and more into the future, is that there are different fractions within his supporters, different groups that are vying for control and power over him, and consequently over us, over our, society, the way things are run. And they're kind of like, those big black turkey vultures that kind of sit and wait. They sense it, they smell it, they know that death is coming. And that's what's happening politically, is that we look at his supporters and the people that surround him, and we may see, people that, we're not fans of or whatever. However, it's deeper than that. They're these big turkey vultures, and their prey is Trump. And I would give him, I mean, they're going to prop him up for a long time, as long as possible, but he's not pulling the strings. Um, he is the one, he's the puppet, actually. My feeling is that despite the bolstering him to kind of give him the, the look like he's in charge, likely, I'd be surprised if it goes a year. My feeling is it could be as early as into this summer. However, I feel like there's going to be a lot of protection around him that keeps that from the public view as much as possible. But why do I bring this up? I bring this up because these different fractions of people and groups and whatever that are surrounding him um, are going to be at war with one another, and they're going to be generating more negativity. None of their agendas are good, let's face it. I mean, when it comes to the principles of kindness and generosity and peace and harmony and equality and, just the basics of looking out for one another and those who are struggling to be there in some way. None of these groups have that in mind. I mean, these groups are more about the power and obviously the money. The money is what most is, in whatever form that comes for them, power and money. It's an old song. We all know it. But negativity destroys negativity. And that's what I wanted to really bring up, is that there is only one power, true power, and that's the power of love. And that's the power that has created all of us, that's created the earth, that's created the universe. It's that power of love, and the universe is love. And it's always operating in the good. It's always operating in this creative delight. All of this has come into being as a beautiful song, as a beautiful expression of this divine creative energy. And that is still what it is. And that's what we need to remember. That is still what it is. We haven't tarnished that. We have the appearance we have, and we have the belief we have, and we're told we do. However, that's the illusion. When we talk about the illusion, that's the illusion. The illusion is that we can actually do anything to take away the pureness, the power, and the love that is eternal and exists. And negativity always feeds off of that. Negativity and these ego-based ideals of wanting to have more power, more money, more control over others, that doesn't actually have power. It only has the power that it gets from a source energy. And the more angry we get at that, and the more fear we feel towards, the people in charge or what's happening or the behind the scenes, all of that, the more energy it receives. And, in a earlier video, I had talked about, um, not allowing Trump to feed off of us energetically. And it doesn't just go for him, it goes for all of this administration coming in and the players, whether or not they have a key role. It may not look that way, but it's all about the influence they have and the cunning and all of that. But evil does destroy evil. Negativity destroys negativity because it has no source of energy. And so when positivity, when people or when we don't get stirred up too much, or when we don't give that energy primarily through fear and anger, those are the two stronger emotions that, release a lot of energy, then it doesn't have a source and it goes after itself. So I want y'all to remember that. And instead of making this a year of some nervousness and what's going to happen and, all the things that they put out there to generate energy from us, of indecency almost. And when I say that, I mean indecency in a moral, humane way. Anything that doesn't show kindness, love, care for one another, peace, a sense of wanting us to thrive. That if we don't get stirred up by that, it's going to feed off itself. It's going to have to find a source of energy. And that's what we need to do. We need to still ourselves, and we need to focus on ourselves and imagining ourselves releasing within us whenever we get stirred up with anger or fear or rage or whatever that is by what's going on politically and how it's affecting us. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, doesn't mean that, we're not going to react. Obviously we are. However, try to keep that reaction focused more in that consciousness that is about clearing the energy as opposed to generating that kind of energy. And the way we clear that energy within ourselves and therefore within the external world and the political world, because, the truth is the political world is dependent on us. It really is. It's dependent on us. It doesn't want us to know that, but that's the truth. And so we have to hold that higher energy because it's dependent on us. So when you get stirred up, here's a little exercise. When you get stirred up, and you will, and I will, and many of us will, imagine that you are releasing within yourself any negativity, any thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions that are not in your highest good, that are not generating the positive, life-giving beauty in your life that you want to be experiencing. And you can imagine the negativity as a huge bonfire that's feeding on itself. And you can throw all that into this fire, throw it in. I know that seems maybe kind of, how do we do that? It's easier than you think. It's just the awareness that I'm doing that, the intent that I'm releasing the negativity and what no longer serves my highest good, and what I can clear out, what within me can I clear out. And just imagine it's a log and you're throwing it into the fireplace. You're wrapping a log. That's all of that stuff in you, and or whatever, leaves, paper, whatever, but you're throwing that in. You're throwing that into this fire. And that makes this year, the clearing for the light. Keep that in your consciousness. We are clearing for the light to shine more brightly within our hearts, our minds, and our spirit. This is a year of power, taking your power and realizing that it's not the external, it's not the political world. You're the power. And the more we all know that, we're invincible. Okay.